Today I am going to review the Wolverine. So basically the Wolverine takes place after X-Men Last Stand, after the third X-Men in the original trilogy, after Last Stand. And Wolverine is completely just given up on life. After he killed Jean Grey in Last Stand, he has given up on life. But also Jean Grey haunts him, like in his dreams, haunts him. And that's another thing. I thought Jean Grey was going to be in probably just a couple minutes of the movie. She's in a good, total probably 10 minutes of the movie. But let's get back to the point. In this movie, Wolverine, during World War II, or basically the end of World War II, saved a Japanese fellow from the nuclear bomb. And now this Japanese guy is older, and he's rich. And he is going to pay back Logan. So he sends a person named Yukio to go pick up Logan and bring him to Japan so this guy can basically thank him and say goodbye. Now it turns out that this guy does not only want to thank him and say goodbye, but he wants his healing factor. And Logan doesn't want to give him his healing. Not because he doesn't care about the guy, but because Logan sees the healing factor as a curse, which, when you've lived that long, and you've watched all your loved ones die, it kind of is a curse. So he doesn't give it to him, and later in the movie, he is brought back from basically his tormented soul is brought back because now he has a purpose. His purpose in this movie is to protect Mariko from people who want to kill her. There were a couple problems that I had with this movie. Not many, but there were a couple problems I had with the movie. The biggest one being the character Viper. This character right here, the character Viper, I did not like the character. And it's not because I didn't think she was a good villain. She was okay, but she wasn't well developed as a character. At the end of the movie, I remember I said to myself, what was her motive in all of this? Why did she do what she did? Her motive wasn't clear. And the character was not developed well enough. And I think that they could have spent a little bit more time writing out her character and developing her character. Another problem I had with this movie is when Logan became mortal. There were some times when he was mortal that it did not seem realistic that a mortal person could survive that. Because, I mean, Wolverine's had a healing factor. He got that taken away from him, so now he's mortal. And there's some things that happen that a mortal person like you and me would die from. So why is he? Because he got bullet wounds in his I think it's his stomach for quite a while, and he's bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. But he doesn't. You just bleed out and die. But I mean, I was willing to overlook that for the story. And there was one other thing that I had a problem with. Now, this is very little, this thing. This is very, very little, but it just kind of ate away at me, and I was thinking, come on, why didn't they do this? I mean, Wolverine, whenever his claws come out, those adamantium claws, the metal ones, whenever they come out, he's in pain, They hurt when they come out. We know this because, well, I kind of knew this before the X-Men movies, but in X-Men 1, Rogue asks him, do they hurt when they come out? And he says every time, or something like that. Now, in this movie, he's mortal, and they come out. When they come out, they're going to cut his skin. So when they retract back in, his knuckles should be bleeding. They weren't bleeding. And like I said, that's very little thing. But it just kind of ate away at me, and I was thinking, why aren't they bleeding? But I was able to overlook it for the case of the story. Now, let's get to the pros of this movie, things I liked. I liked the fact that this movie was better than Wolverine Origins. It was better in every way to X-Men Origins Wolverine. Better in every way. I also liked the fact that this movie, unlike Origins, wasn't just like a mindless action movie. You had to think. You know, you had to think during this movie. At least I did. I don't. Maybe I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. You had to think during this movie. It wasn't like Inception type of thinking, but they presented something, and then they presented something later that eventually led to another thing. And if you were able to put the pieces together, you figured it out beforehand. Another thing I liked is that this movie really delved into the psychology of Wolverine, of the character, and I liked that. I loved seeing that. And I think this is probably the only movie that's done that in the Wolverine, in all the X-Men movies. We've never really seen the psychology of his character until this movie. And I liked it, and it was really interesting. One thing in this movie, which I guarantee you a lot of people will hate, but I liked it, is the fact that at the end of the movie, he loses his adamantium claws. Wolverine loses them, and he's back to the bone claws. I mean, Silver Samurai cuts off his adamantium claws, basically. Cuts them off. And he's back to the bone. And I like that. And I like it because in the scene, he was sacrificing his claws to save the girl. You know? It shows how much he is willing to sacrifice. And I really, really like that. And there is one thing about this movie that I would not put on like a pros list, and I would not put on a cons list on the movie, because I feel like it can go either way with me, because part of me likes it and part of me doesn't. And that is the Silver Samurai in this movie, the Silver Samurai. Now, the Silver Samurai I thought was going to be in most of the movie. I thought that was your main villain. It's not. He's actually, in reality, probably in like 15, 10 minutes of the movie. Very little, a very, very little role of Silver Samurai. But they changed the Silver Samurai. It's not the Silver Samurai from the comics. Completely different character. And I don't mind that. Listen, I don't mind that. I firmly believe that comic book movies can stray from the source material. Just give me a good movie, you know? If it strays from the source material a little bit, that's fine. But if it's, just stick to the character and give me a good movie. You don't have to stick to the story, but make sure you have, like, the main aspects of that character in there. Like Wolverine, this movie didn't stick to a Wolverine comic book story, but it had the main aspects of Wolverine in it. Silver Samurai did not have those main aspects, but it was still good. I still liked it. So it can go either on a pro or cons list. I liked it, but it didn't stick to the aspects. So it can go either way. Also, this movie does have an after credit scene. So stay till the end of the credits to see it. And I'll tell you this, the end credit scene was freaking amazing. Freaking amazing. I mean, it set up Days of Future Past. X-Men Days of Future Past. It set that movie up. And it looks freaking spectacular. I mean, it's basically Wolverine 2 years later after the Wolverine. Wolverine walks into an airport. And he's gonna get on a plane, I suppose. And all of a sudden, all the metal objects in the building start to rise up out of, they start to rise into the air, all the metal. And Wolverine turns around, and there is Magneto. Ian McKellen as Magneto. And he says, Logan, our people are in danger. Basically, from a threat, basically the Sentinel threat, And he says, why should I trust you? And Ian Magneto goes, I wouldn't expect you to. And all of a sudden, here comes Professor Xavier. Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier, wheel up in his wheelchair. Here comes he. Here he comes. And wow, because he died in Last Stand, if you don't remember, and Wolverine doesn't know that he kind of transferred his consciousness. He wasn't there for that. So he says, how the hell are you still alive? Or something like that. And Professor Xavier says, when we first met, I told you that you are not the only one with gifts. Basically, a gift, his mutant power. He's not the only one with a mutation. Overall, I liked the Wolverine. I thought it was good. I mean, it wasn't great, but it certainly wasn't terrible. It wasn't on the level of Wolverine Origins. It was a lot better than that. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Do not forget to go check out the MRTV Facebook page, the Whovians Unite Facebook page, the Real Doctor Who Fans Facebook page, the DC Cinematic Universe Facebook page, and the World of Superman Facebook page. Links to these pages are in the box below. Please go click on these pages, check out the pages, and show your support for them. I'm gonna go, and goodbye.
A lot of people have tried to kill me, but I'm still here.
Eternity is a curse. I can make you mortal.
You offering to kill me? Eternity? You don't know the meaning of the word. What kind of monster are you? The Wolverine. You have 10 words. You don't have the faintest idea what's going on.
How many words was that?
9.
In Movie 3D and large format theaters.